inner tubes. Woke up this morning to snow. It's March 31st and I was going to take Brooke out to teach her how to ride her motorcycle today, but obviously given what you see outside, Toronto weather is just not cooperating. So instead, there's Brooke's bike sitting and ready to go, and nowhere to go to for today, unfortunately. But I will tell you all about it, give you all the info on it, as well as the info on all the stuff we've done to it, and give you a good idea of what we're going to do with this bike this year. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Letty's pretty excited about it, you can tell. Oh wow, look at it snowing out there. Alright, inner tubes, yes, this bike is in our living room. Just keeping it out of the elements, making sure it doesn't get stolen, rusted, or in any other way abused. It's pretty light, so it doesn't really put a lot of strain on the floor. But yeah, we've had it here for a couple of months now, and it makes a nice accessory to the living room. So when friends come, we can show it off and people think we're just weird. So the basics of this bike. This is a Honda CB300F. This model has been around for a while. It has recently been updated and changed. Honda pretty much scrapped this model and introduced the new CB300R. Lots of these bikes are still around and available to be bought on the used market, and that's what we did, because why would you buy a beginner's bike brand new? That just doesn't make any sense. So here we have a liquid-cooled 286cc single-cylinder engine. I believe it produces about 30 horsepower at the crank, and some of the magazines have dynoed this at about 26 horsepower at the rear wheel. Not too powerful, which is good for a beginner, but enough to keep up on the highway and get up the hills with some juice left over. This bike is pretty light at 348 pounds wet with a full tank. Fuel mileage on this thing is 71 miles per gallon, which would give it a fairly decent range. I'm thinking probably in the 300 kilometer range. Because the bike is so light, it only needs one disc up front. It is an ABS braking system, and as you can see, we've got a Nissan caliper on there doing the braking duties. There's also a single disc in the back. The suspension on this thing's pretty simple. The fork, standard forks, non-adjustable. Rear shock is preload adjustable, and the wrench for adjusting the rear shock down there is under the seat. It comes with the bike and a little toolkit. So this is a 2015 bike. It has just over 14,000 kilometers on it, and it was well taken care of by the previous owners. The previous owner was a female rider who actually bought this for her boyfriend to ride. She taught him how to ride, and she got this bike for him to accompany her on her Sportster. So it's been well taken care of. She was a very experienced lifelong rider. Her dad owned a Harley dealership, so she knew exactly what to do with regards to maintenance on this bike. So let's take a look at the dash here. We've got a fully digital dash. There we go. We have a sweep of the tack. We've got a fuel gauge, which is important on a beginner's bike. We've got a tack. We've got a digital speedometer. We've got the total kilometers. We can scroll through total kilometers, trip A and trip B, 2 trip meters. We've got a neutral indicator and an ABS indicator up top. There are 2 upgrades that the owner did to this bike. The first one is a car horn instead of the original bike horn that came with it. The bike horn, according to the previous owner, was not loud enough, so she installed this car horn over here. The second upgrade is an aftermarket exhaust system. Now this is not really a system. I think this is just a random pipe that the previous owner threw on here instead of the original giant and ugly muffler that was on this bike when it was new. She threw it on here and spray painted it black. It's got some scratches on it now. The spray paint doesn't hold up very well. The other thing she did was she wrapped the original exhaust system, as you can see there, and she did a very good job of it. So it looks kind of stylish and will protect the pipe. Now, we have not been idle, inner tubes. We have been pimping this bike out with all kinds of accessories. You will notice it doesn't look much like the bike that first came in here when we first got it. So I'll go through some of the accessories that we've put on the bike since we've got it, just to make Brooke's riding experience a little bit more pleasant and the bike a little bit nicer. So probably the biggest upgrade is the Puig Windshield. We got this windshield online. I'll put the link in the description. This windshield is especially made for this model bike, so it looks very integrated. It almost looks like a stock unit that came with the bike. It's very nicely integrated, looks good. It'll keep the wind off Brooke's chest, probably not her helmet, it's not high enough for that. But in Canada, when you get weather like that, where it's snowing out there, you need all the weather protection you can get, and it will make her riding a lot more pleasant and probably extend her riding into months that she would normally not ride in. As you can see, it attaches via two brackets here that attach to the clamp. So the second most noticeable upgrade we've made here are these Barkbusters. We got the big ones, we got the Storms. These are the biggest ones you can get, and they provide the most weather protection for the hands. The hands on a motorcycle are probably the first things that get cold, and again, in Canada we have very cold weather, and these do quite a good job of extending your riding season. But they're not just plastic. They have a metal bar inside here, as you can see right there, and that bar protects the hands and the levers in case of a tip over or crash. These Barkbusters attach at the end of the handlebar. It's a single point attachment. There is no attachment at the front, but you can see that despite being attached at a single point, they're very stiff and very nicely made. This is an expensive part. I'll put the link in the description. And what's nice about the single point attachment is that there's no hardware attaching to the handlebar here, which would make it look busy and messed up and might even get in the way of the windshield here. We've also attached some frame sliders for this model. You can find these online and they're a worthwhile buy. In case of a tip over, they do protect the bike a little bit. Most of the time you tip over these bikes, they'll land on the handlebar and on the foot peg there. But the frame slider, just in case the handlebars turn the other way or something, the frame slider will keep the bike off the ground and maybe even protect the rider's leg a little bit as the bike gets tipped over. New riders tend to tip the bikes over quite a bit. We're hoping Brooke doesn't, but if she does, she's got the frame sliders there to protect her. Alright, now I know you're wondering about the gear indicator there. That is an aftermarket unit. I've attached it for Brooke. It'll make her rides a little bit easier knowing what gear she's in. As you can see, when I turn the key, there is a countdown and then it says L. We haven't programmed it yet. We got to get it outside and run it through the gears in order to program the various gears. This thing is pretty cheap. I'm putting the link in the description. You can definitely do this job yourself of attaching a gear indicator to your bike. So what you have to do is attach the indicator here, run the wire from it all the way through here. You have to remove this panel off of the bike. This is actually all one panel that runs all the way along here. The whole thing comes off. You can run the wire through the frame here and you can zip tie it to the frame, and under the seat is an ECU. And you plug that thing into the ECU. Now, I'm not 100% sure about exactly how it works, but I suspect that it simply compares the speed of the bike to the speed of the engine and then determines which gear you're in once you teach it which gear is which. So I would guess that it won't show you the correct gear until you've actually shifted into it and then let go of the clutch. So if you, for example, are coming to a stop and you pull in the clutch and bang down a whole bunch of gears, it's probably not going to count down all those gears until you've let go of the clutch and it runs maybe a second or two in that gear and decides, okay, this is which. Another accessory we bought was this tank protector sticker. This is a Pro Grip. I'll put the link in the description. The original sticker that came with this bike when we bought it was coming off, so we decided to put on a new one. Did a pretty decent job of it. I like this sticker. One thing that's a little bit of a pain about it is the fact that it is a two-piece. I thought originally that that would be a good thing because you could put each piece on separately, but it actually makes it a little harder to put on because you got to match up the bottom piece with the top piece. We did a good job. We actually heated it up quite a bit with the hair dryer before we stuck it on, and we really made sure to line it up properly in the center of the tank. Be careful when putting these on. You screw this up and you'll have to be looking at a crooked sticker for the rest of its lifetime, which I don't know if it'll bother you, but it would drive me insane. Another accessory I've installed is the battery tender, which goes and connects to the battery under the seat. There's the plug that comes out and plugs into the wall, keeps the battery nice and charged. And of course, I'm sure you've noticed the panniers. These are actually leftover panniers that I bought probably 6 years ago when I had my old Honda F4 sport bike. I bought these for that bike and kept them after I sold the bike, and I threw them on this bike when Brooke got it. Now, here's the thing. I was worried that putting these straps over the bike, so the front strap goes underneath the seat, and the back strap, the seat is not long enough, so I have to put it on the tail. I was worried that as the bike is running, especially at high speeds, these are going to be vibrating and brushing up against the tail of the bike, and they're going to mess up and scuff up the tail of the bike. So what I did was I put, you probably can't see it in the video, but I put helicopter tape all over the tail of the bike and covered it with it so that when these bags are vibrating and moving and scuffing around, they're not scuffing the finish of the bike. There are grab handles here, which are convenient because the back strap sits right on them and keeps, or they keep the strap off the tail of the bike. So why did we get this bike? First of all, it's light. It's a nice light bike for a new rider. That's really important. The seat height is not too high. I believe it's 30.7 inches. The power is not too intimidating for a new rider, so it's not going to spit Brooke off when she makes any kind of mistake. Additionally, the style of the bike appealed to Brooke. She does not really want a bike that's very specialized at anything. So she doesn't like sport bikes, she doesn't like cruisers. She's into standard naked bikes because they're just bikes. And they're light and they handle well and they look good, but she doesn't feel like she needs to live up to any kind of a image when riding a motorcycle. The seating position was comfortable as well, so we decided to get it. Alright, so here we go. Here's the bike, 350 pounds of steel. Brooke's gonna lift it up. Flex for us, Brooke. Flex those swole arms. Oh, she writes it! Oh my god, that was almost the first drop, out the window. So there it is. There's the bike. That's, Brooke is 5'6.5", a little taller with the shoes. She can put her feet flat on the floor. She can hold up the bike. Sort of hold it. She can almost drop it and lift it up because she's been working out. Is she going to drop it? Is she going to crash this week? Is she going to smudge herself on the pavement?
Let's hope not.
Okay. So there's only one way to find out, inner tubes. Keep on watching the channel and you will see this whole new experience of a new rider riding a motorcycle for the first time. Alright, inner tubes, so it has occurred to me that some of you guys will be taller, bigger guys, and you're going to wonder, is this bike going to be too small for me? Am I going to look like I'm on a Grom? Absolutely not. This is actually a full-size motorcycle. If you take a look at me next to it, I don't look huge next to it. When I get on it, stepping on it, Yes, my feet are flat with my knees bent quite a bit, which makes for a nice low seat height. The bars are narrow. This is going to be great for getting in between cars in the city. And when I put up my foot on the pegs, this is my knee bend. It's not bad. I'm 5'11" and a third. Not quite 6 feet, but I'm over 6 feet with my shoes on. I would not need anything larger if I was a beginning rider. Alright, inner tubes, stay tuned for lots of exciting content on the channel. As I said, we're going to be teaching Brooke how to ride. There will be more Moto Guzzi Stelvio content and me riding it, my moto vlogs. And just lots of exciting things coming up this summer. We'll be riding some beautiful roads, especially up in the Madawaska Valley and around the Algonquin Park area. So stay tuned for all of those videos. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to show the channel some love, and may the spokes be with you.